Let's go straight to two live visuals from Ayodhya, where the gathering for the ceremony has well and truly begun. The dignitaries are arriving. We're expecting the Prime Minister to be arriving in the next few minutes, landing in Ayodhya. Shots on your screens of people coming into the main temple, where outside the chairs have been laid. I think I can see there you see on the right side of the screens, of course, Yogi Adityanath arrived a short while ago. Remember, the ceremony itself, the Pran Pratistha with the PM, is going to happen inside the temple. But there is no audience hall per se. It's a temple, it's not an auditorium. So the dignitaries are going to be gathering right outside, where you can see the barricading, where the current Chief Minister of UP, of course, is taking a tour. He's been there since last night. He's been there pretty much every 24 hours, making sure everything is looking good. And ladies and gentlemen, bottom line is everything is indeed looking good. It's looking well organized. It's looking sorted, looking neat and clean. The temple, and if you just until a few days ago, it was a construction site and there were gantries everywhere, and all that is now gone. The main temple where the Ram Murti has been installed is ready to go. At the very back end of the dome, the Shikhar, a little bit of more work is required there. So you see on the left side of the screen, that's the shot of the temple itself, and it's looking neat. And the entire road, the entire area is not looking chaotic. It's looking pretty well organized, tight security. The logistics have been well thought through, well worked out. It's looking good. They've been cleaning the place every few hours, literally both with brooms and water. So it's all looking good. Okay, let's take it easy and take it a step at a time. Okay. I still have on the broadcast with me Dr. PSV Rao joining us, Gautam Mukherjee is with us, Sharad Kohli is with us, General Katoch is with us, Suresh Krishnamurthy still with us, Sumit Peer still with us, Alok Mehta and Michael Sternfield all with us this morning. Ananya, my colleague, is joining us now. She's at the location right outside, a few hundred meters away from the temple itself. Ananya, good morning to you. So we are all set. What time are we expecting the Prime Minister to arrive?
बिल्कुल इस वक्त मैं लता चौक पर मौजूद हूं और मेरे जरा चारों तरफ आप तस्वीरें देखिए। भक्तों का जमावड़ा तो है ही, लेकिन आपको अयोध्या में देश भर के जो है आप देखेंगे तो राजस्थान की लीला जो है वो चल रही है। रामोत्सव में कैसे से मग्न होते हुए दिख रहे हैं वो देखिए, और भक्तों का जमावड़ा, और यहीं से वीवीआईपी जो तमाम है वो यहां से गुजर रहे हैं, क्योंकि यही वो एंट्री पॉइंट है जहां से आप कह सकते हैं कि आप अयोध्या में एंटर होते हैं अगर आपको रामपथ की तरफ आगे बढ़ना है। और ये है एक तरह से धर्मपथ से होते हुए रामपथ से होते हुए भक्तपथ, और फिर रामपथ से जब आप आगे बढ़ेंगे तो आप राम मंदिर पहुंच जाएंगे। अभी कुछ ही देर पहले सीएम योगी आदित्यनाथ का काफिला जो है वो यहाँ से निकला है, और एक बार जरा मेरे आप दूसरी तरफ तस्वीरें दिखाइए किस तरह से यहाँ पर आप देखेंगे तो प्रयागराज का एक पारंपरिक नृत्य जो है वो यहाँ पर लड़कियां करती हुई नजर आ रही हैं। लेकिन खुशी इस बात की है कि सोचा नहीं था आज इस मौके पे शामिल होने का मौका मिलेगा, और आज हम यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं। लेकिन जो तमाम भक्त हैं इनसे जरा बात कर लेते हैं कि आज अयोध्या को ये कैसे देख रहे हैं। 500 वर्षों का इंतजार जो है वो खत्म हुआ है। कहाँ से आए हैं आप?
एमपी से।
कैसा लग रहा है यहाँ आकर?
बढ़िया लग रहा है, बहुत बढ़िया। अयोध्या नगरी में बहुत बढ़िया
खत्म हो गया। बसों का इंतजार बहुत लगाए थे है, लेकिन हाँ सब
रहे। अयोध्या में फूल बरस रहे हैं, अयोध्या में फूल बरस रहे हैं, पूरी अयोध्या फूल बरस रहे हैं। ऐसा कहीं नहीं है भारत के अंदर, सब जगह हिंदू में सब फूल बरस रहे हैं। जग रहा हिंदू, जग रहा हिंदू, जगेगा।
फूल बरस रहे हैं। यहाँ पर किस तरह की भावनाएं जो है वो लोगों की है ये हम देखेंगे। आप कहाँ से आए हैं? आप कहाँ से आए हैं?
मैं छत्तीसगढ़ का हूँ। वैसा मैं
निमंत्रण आपके पास नहीं है, लेकिन उम्मीद है कि दर्शन होंगे।
बिना चप्पल के यहाँ से, मुंबई से यहाँ तक आया हूँ मैं।
मुंबई से बिना चप्पल के आए हैं आप?
चप्पल के यहाँ, ये तो मैं
Okay, you'll have to forgive this because there are obviously jammers there because of VIP movement. So I'm going to try to hop across just on the other side of the chalk, where Akshit, my colleague, is also standing by as we're getting a flavor. Ladies and gentlemen, don't disregard or underestimate that for a lot of people this is very important. It's a huge deal, okay, as it well and truly should be. Something truly once in history is taking place. Akshat, if you can hear us, can you just show us around as well, please?
Well, yes, the final arrangements of, the Ram Mandir inauguration have been concluded, and yes, Yeah, we are at the Lata Chowk, and here you can see gathered behind the barricades, and as I was saying, 100 stages have been set up to showcase the folk culture of India. Because there we just try to zoom, you can see just to our parallel side, a stage has been set up which is depicting the culture of India. Different artists have arrived from different states, and you can see they are performing there on the stage, and on the other side also you can see scores of people who have gathered here to actually witness this momentous occasion, because history is going to unfold. And here you can see the cars are also going, the convoy is going on continuously, because celebrities have also started arriving, and this is the road which is leading to the Ram Mandir, and perhaps you can see these pillars also. On these pillars also, very intricately it's written Jai Shri Ram. It's also signifies, symbolizes.
Yeah, well, we've tried to make the most of it, so get your understanding of what's happening. The bottom line, as I've been mentioning, it's looking good. The weather indeed is cold, but we're still a couple of hours away. The sun is just about coming out and breaking through the fog. So hopefully it'll be reasonably good sunshine as people gather on the ground. It's looking neat and clean. You can see both inside and outside the road. It's been well organized, it's been well put together, and that's what the premise had to be. 2,000 quintals of flowers. You can see the Rangoli flowers that have been put on the ground over there. It's looking nice, it's looking well done, it's looking well organized, looking well managed, which was the point of the principal building. Of course, you had to build, but in terms of the ceremony itself, getting, dotting the I's and crossing the T's was important to organize something smooth in a secure environment. Let me quickly hop across. Dr. Rao, good morning. What are you making of all of this?
Namaste. Jai Shri Ram. I am delighted, to say the least. See, this Bharat was a powerhouse that energized the entire ancient world. And Ramayana and Mahabharata are complex stories which relate to the entire world, to all kinds of situations. It directs you, it guides you as to what you can do in various conflicts, in situations, and various other problems that show up in the world. And this is exactly why it became so popular all over Asia, all over the ancient world. And what this Pran Pratistha is going to do is to re-establish our spiritual and cultural center, one of our cultural centers, and our identity. It is the most important cultural center for us. And a centuries-old dispute has been peacefully solved, and we are now into a period of renaissance of Hindu culture and our Hindu identity. We have had a lot of decarcinated Hindus who have suffered colonized minds, and we can now see that they have all coming out of those out of their background, and a lot of youth are suddenly feeling proud of our identity rather than trying to hide our identity or feel ashamed about it. And hopefully this will be the start of Ram Raja, which existed once upon a time in India.
Yeah, right. So then now it's up.
Pardon?
Right, in the process of a self-discovery, when you are going through the creation of the history, figuring out what this means, what it stands for, what is now good and evil and right and wrong, and what India now is, what Bharat now is, what we are in the global community. We are all in that discovery. We are all in it together, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So we have to be self-assured. We have to be confident. We have to be purposeful. We also have to be altruistic. We also have to be philosophical. All of these things, because an opportunity is now emerging. An opportunity is emerging that is there a learning or a lesson to be produced from the most diverse and syncretic country on the face of the planet. It's only to be found here. You can't find it in China, you can't find it in North America, you can't find it in Europe, you can only find it here. that in the syncreticity of what is taking place, what is the example, what are the learnings that we take away from all of this? So let me quickly get Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam Mukherjee, so what is it? Who are we now? What is Bharat? What is India now?
Well, Rishabh, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for all of us to witness something like this, where Lord Ram returns to his abode after 500 years, 496 years. Now, what this has done, we are coming out of a post-colonial legacy, which we clung to for 50, 60 years, even after independence. And now, over the last 10 years in particular, we have plugged in to the ancient culture and civilization of India and have developed an identity which is not fractured and broken. And, post-independence, we kind of adopted everything from outside, from our political thinking to the kind of, need and sort of neediness for approval of the West, and their ways of thinking became our ways of thinking. Marxism distorted all the present history that was taught in all the schools and colleges, and all of this was quite deliberate. But the fact is that it was a fragile thing because it had no legs. It had been imported lock, stock, and barrel, and the attempt was to impose this on an ancient culture. Now we've plugged into our own identity.
Okay.
This will only grow as the time goes
so
on.
what is that identity? That's the question here, right? What is it? General Katot, so what is it? Okay, so now when you've grown up in an environment where you have just lived through 2 centuries of being told, number one, you are an inferior civilization. Number 2, you can't govern yourselves. Number 3, even if you wanted to govern yourselves, you are 2 nations, you are Hindus and you are Muslims, and you can never get along. It's not going to happen. So once you've grown up with that appropriation which has happened, in brainwashing which has happened, who is the modern Bharatiya Indian? Who is the Hindu living in India? What is his hope, dream? What is his responsibility?
Thank you, Rishabh, and Jai Shri Ram to all the viewers. You see, I totally agree with Gautam. It is an epochal moment in India's history. I don't think any common Indian, and I'm one of them, has ever felt this way before. You see, it is not simply a mandir being built. It is much more than that. It transcends everything. I read a poem written by a young poetess where she says, "Abhi mandir aa gaya hai, Ram Rajya dur nahi." Now, you see, that sums up the feeling of the nation, of the vast majority of this country.
No, but does it, sir? What do we understand of Ram Rajya? Some people think Ram Rajya by definition is some sort of Hindu majoritarianism.
You see, that is a very way of looking at it. When you look at Ram Rajya, in fact, let us get the very concept of Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma correct. Sanatan Dharma is the only faith which accepts every other faith. You cannot say that of the proselytizing religion. For them, it is either my way or the highway. You don't believe in my God, I will kill you. But you look at Bharat. Here, anybody who came from anywhere, they were accepted. Their gods were accepted. That is the very essence of being a Hindu. We accept the others. But I think now what has happened is the Hindu, if you use the term Hindu or Hindutva, we are no longer prepared to tell, to listen to other people to say, you are inferior. You listen to us, you convert to our ways. We are saying, no, we are happy. You be happy with your ways. We'll be happy with ours. And the difference now is we are saying it with confidence. It's a huge mind change. You see, it is not so much as a temple. That, of course, is a very epochal moment. Ram came in Tritiya Yuga. For the second time now, Ram has come in Kali Yuga, a second Diwali, a second coming home. It is not something which is small. It is the greatest event which has happened since independence, an epochal, earth-shaking event.
Okay.
When Nehru talked of, just one more point,
Yeah,
Rishabh.
finish, please.
You see, Nehru talked of a tryst with destiny. Here again, we are talking of a tryst, of recovering our soul, recovering our ethos, recovering our roots. And I think that is going to be a game changer with the Ram Mandir coming up. India will.
Okay, so what is that soul? Okay, there's I've said it repeatedly, and it's obviously a recurring theme. We all know about the story of the Knights of the Round Table. Not many, and that's because we've studied it. It's been part of the children's stories we've grown up with. Not everybody across the world reads Ramayana as a children's story. Perhaps they do, because you're disconnected from who you are. You've been told to be suspicious of who you are. If somebody is wearing saffron and being overtly religious, that's suspicious. The saffron dhwaj is suspicious. It's a problem. It's a mindset problem. But with it comes a responsibility, because Sharad Kohli, who is the modern Bharatiya? What does he represent or she represent?
Well, good morning, Uday. First of all, a very proud moment for every Indian, I must say today. And congratulations to all the panel members and rest of the country, and of course the NewsX viewers. I think an Indian, as per me today, is what has been conceptualized by Ramayana. So if you one is of course the Ram temple, coming home of Rama, but I think it's more important for Indians to connect to what Ram is all about. There are two most modern, there are 24 avatars as per the Hindu. I also have a very strong point to make, Uday, which I would like to clarify through your show today, that we call this as mythology. I'm sorry, I object to the word mythology. Mythology word comes from a word myth. And everybody knows what a myth is. So I object to this being called mythology. I think from today onwards, we should not call it Hindu mythology. I think this word mythology should be thrown out of the window. So there are 24 avatars of Lord Vishnu. Ram is one of the avatars. Ram and Krishna are the two of the most popular avatars out of the 24. I think Ram's life is what is a lesson for every Indian, and that is what every Indian must try to connect with. That for me is a modern Indian. If today you are so euphoric about Ayodhya temple, it's not just about an event being held there where 8,000 guests are there, where VVIPs are coming, the Bollywood is coming, and some of the most famous faces of the country are coming. No, I think this is, for me, the real celebration is when you connect to the life of Lord Rama. He was an idealistic son, an idealistic father, an idealistic husband, even an idealistic enemy. When Ravana came in front of Ram and he lost his weapon, he said, "Go home today, I'll spare you today. Come back with your weapon tomorrow and you fight with me." So, Dasharath Ram's father used to tell his own ministers that, everybody praises the kings. Everybody praises Ram in every way. But Ram is one such person who even his enemies praise. So I think that is the kind of idealistic, human touch which is required in the Indians today. So for me, a modern Indian may be a very globally integrated person. You may be you might be well read. You might have read the world history. You might be knowing who Alexander is and so and so. But you're right. How many people have read Ramayana? They must have heard Ramayana chopais from their grandparents here and there, or probably playing on the YouTube. But I must ask, how many people can narrate the story of Ram to me, other than the fact that Ram was exiled, came back after 14 years?
Other than the basics. And, but the basics are just the story. It's the complexity and the nuance, the moral dilemmas that you're trying to address here. The understanding of when we say good and evil, Ravan does not, begin as evil. He begins as a pious bhakt who gets lost along the way. And what are then the crimes? What are the retributions? What is justice? What is fairness? What is morality? The question is there a rediscovery that is being done? And Suresh Krishnamurthy is joining us on the broadcast as well. Sureshji, let me come back to you on this thought. So, Ram Rajya, okay, if I say the chivalric orders and the Knights of the Round Table and secularism and democracy, Demokratas, which is the Greek representation. There's a global recognition of these. We are supposed to know what they mean in essence. Do we know what Ram Rajya means in essence?
Well, I think of Ram Rajya as more towards, it's a rediscovery of who we are. Now, there's a very interesting incident in the Ramayana where, we all know the story of Rama, Sugriva and Vali. And Vali asks the question, hey, how come you are doing this to me? And Rama gives a very interesting answer where he says, look, I am bound by the rules of Bharata, who is the ruler of this land, and I am dispensing justice on his basis, on his behalf. Now, here is a man who has been sent away. He has been, some would say his brother usurped his position, which is, of course, not true. And yet he does not give in for a single moment and continues to uphold the principle of justice, right? He immediately considers himself a representative of the rightful ruler. I think these are the kinds of lessons that Ram Rajya can bring in, which is understanding the legitimacy of who we report to, right? It shouldn't matter. We should not be, this is a lesson on don't be caught up in personalities.
Okay, so Mr. Krishnamurthy, let me replace and rephrase the question. So when I say Demokratas, democracy, by definition, it is not connected to faith or religion. So when I say Ram Rajya, by definition, is it a Hindu outlook to life, which might have some positive leanings, but it in principle is Hindu, or is it something larger in concept?
I question the premise. I question the premise that democracy is somehow, it is not possible to be religious and democratic at the same time. I challenge that premise all the time, simply because the religion does not prohibit you from participating properly in a democracy. Dharma does not say it must be this way or it must be this way, the other way. Dharma simply says you should follow the laws, right? The laws can be made by kings. It can be made by a democratically elected system of government. So I think this basic idea, this basic premise that somehow democracy is secular and democracy cannot be religious, I reject that. I certainly reject that premise. And I look at it as Ram Rajya is about principles. It's about justice. It is about, and these are not limited to a particular form of government, right? Justice, the treatment of people in a compassionate way, the upholding of justice, the making sure that, crimes get punished. These are not based on systems of government. These are universal principles of Dharma.
Okay. All right. So now here's the Alok Mehta. I've had the privilege, of having read The Republic by Plato, and the premise of being drawn that unitary rule is abhorrent to human governance and civilization, and how it should be a group of individuals. You can argue Plato's Republic also to death because it simply replaced the rule of one by the rule of a few. But today, in a modern context, a republic is something to be aspired to. Monarchies are shifting to the road of the republic since the time of the French Revolution. But I can read that a book and I take away the learnings from it without having to understand Zeus and Olympia and all the Greek gods. Are there learnings to be taken from the Ramayana without per se saying that this is Hindu Dharma religion?
Yeah, Rishabh, I feel that this is the real situation now. Because, this is not the Hinduism, but this is for the whole world. What we talk about the Ram Raj is about the democracy, what you are mentioning about the Plato, Aristotle and all. You see, what the Greeks did or in Roman Samraj, I think the Indian ancient culture with this Ram Rajya concept in Vedas, if you see, this is not only for this land, but all over the world for humanity. That's why they call it peace and prosperity for everybody. That's why what we are watching now, with prosperity for everybody, every citizen. Every citizen should get the food. Every citizen should go to education, health. This is the democracy. Then they have the right to change the leader. And that's why the democracy, Ram Rajya, is everybody should. You see, when Ram was in Lanka, he killed Ravan, but even then he gave the charge to Vibhishan. One should say, okay, why Narendra Modi is going to Tamil Nadu? He warned that everybody can rule there, anybody can rule there. It's not necessary that only the Modi or BJP will rule, but they can also, they have some good collaboration with a union, the India, Bharat, we call it. And that's why what we are trying, the real Ram Rajya now, after 75 years of the country, the Ram Rajya, just symbolize the Rama and Hinduism, but I think it's not a Hinduism is for all over the world, for the spiritual way.
Okay, so what is a revived, Gautam Mukherjee, a revived Hinduism, a revived Hindu? At what point of time do we represent to the world that this is who we are, this is what we intend, this is what we aspire to be, and this is the good that we bring before the world?
You know, the Western way of thinking, sort of either or binary, has brought them to a sorry pass. Many of them are now questioning it. This is why they'll reach out to Modi, who seems to have a much more inclusive idea of the world, one world, and within the country also an inclusiveness in terms of how the country should be run. What this represents, and it's been a long time coming in little bits and pieces, is the throwing of the colonized mind deliberately imposed on us by Macaulay in the 1830s. It is now in the dustbin. Now, what is left over is a different definition of democracy, because it doesn't take its inspiration and roots from the Greek, model of city-state, or the one as it developed in Britain and America and so on. It goes much further back and has a much more nuanced approach where you can fight your enemies, at the same time you can respect them. You can develop your country in all aspects and at the same time realize the value of nature and clean environment and so on. So India has a wellspring of, inspiration that comes from centuries ago. It has survived by word of mouth mostly, some of it in written history, and now we come to a part where we are remodeling ourselves according to our own lights. And a lot of people abroad who have come to a sort of a dead end with their way of thinking are thinking the Indian way is probably better.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.